The stars shone brightly over the desert planet, casting long shadows across jagged rocks and sand dunes. Far above, in the quiet darkness of space, the alien huntress hovered silently in her sleek ship, her eyes scanning the surface below. She had hunted on many planets before, faced creatures far stronger and smarter than humans, and yet nothing amused her more than the primitive adrenaline rush that humans displayed. From this height, she could see them moving, small and fragile, yet frantic, running, shouting, risking their lives for what she considered meaningless. She smirked, a thin, sharp curve of her lips, and whispered to herself, "Pathetic creatures, thinking their little games are brave." One human climbed a high rock, trying to escape a small, lashing predator. Screaming as he slipped and stumbled, the huntress tilted her head, curiosity flickering for the briefest moment. But mostly, she laughed silently, watching him struggle. "Adrenaline rush," she said mockingly. "They call this courage. I call it foolishness." The humans seemed to celebrate every tiny victory, cheering and clapping as if survival itself was a trophy. She shook her head, her long fingers brushing the controls of her ship, adjusting sensors to focus more on a particular human who had caught her eye. He was not the fastest, nor the strongest, yet he moved with something she could not name, a strange persistence that made him survive when others failed. Her eyes narrowed, scanning his every move, watching how he ducked, dodged, and even smiled when danger passed. "Interesting," she whispered, though she would never admit it aloud, for pride was a companion, and amusement her shield. The sun began to rise, casting orange light across the sand, and the humans gathered near a river, preparing for the day. The huntress hovered closer, invisible to them, her ship blending with the morning sky. She watched a small group practice at primitive hunting, throwing spears at moving targets. And again, she scoffed. "They think they are warriors," she muttered, her voice low, filled with amusement. "Their weapons are toys, their reflexes weak." Yet, something about the human she followed made her pause. He crouched low, eyes sharp, watching the river carefully, his movements cautious but confident. He seemed aware of danger before it came, noticing small signs that others ignored, and he acted with precision that seemed almost instinctive. The huntress leaned forward, intrigued despite herself. For centuries, she had seen many species, but humans were unpredictable, like fire dancing in the wind. A sudden cry broke the quiet morning, and a small predator leapt from the riverbank, jaws snapping at a child. The human she watched reacted instantly, throwing his spear with a force and accuracy that surprised even her. The predator yelped and fell back into the water, retreating. The huntress blinked, almost laughing, but she noticed how the humans now surrounded each other, protective and alert, even in their weakness. There was courage, a strange stubbornness that refused to bow to fear. She floated higher, adjusting her senses to track the human's heartbeat, adrenaline levels, movements, everything. There was something almost thrilling about the way he survived. A rush of emotion she had not felt in years touched her, but she quickly pushed it aside, labeling it curiosity, nothing more. Still, she made a note to observe him further, to see how far this human could go before failing. Her pride would not allow her to admit respect. Yet deep inside, she felt a flicker of fascination. Hours passed as the humans moved across the desert, searching for food, water, and shelter. The huntress followed silently, unseen, almost like a shadow made of stars. She watched how the humans communicated, how they helped each other, how they laughed even when scared. She found herself drawn to their resilience, even as she mocked them for it. Perhaps it was their weakness that made their courage so striking. She thought, a rare gem hidden in fragile shells. As night fell, the humans gathered around a small fire, sharing stories and laughter. The huntress drifted above, watching silently, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames below. For the first time in a long time, she wondered what it would be like to understand them, not as prey, not as amusement, but as something more. She shook the thought away, focusing on her mission, reminding herself that she was superior, that humans were still nothing more than fragile creatures dancing on the edge of survival. And yet, as she hovered in the night sky, a small, stubborn spark of intrigue burned inside her. The human she watched had survived every minor danger, every challenge. And now, even in rest, he radiated something strong, something she could not name. The huntress smirked, her eyes narrowing as she whispered into the darkness. "We will see how long your courage lasts, little human." The hunt was only beginning, and she intended to enjoy every moment. The desert was quiet under pale morning sun, the heat rising from the sand and waves. The humans moved cautiously, carrying spears and small bags of supplies, their eyes scanning every shadow, every movement. The alien huntress hovered silently above, invisible, her sharp eyes following the human she had marked. He moved differently from the others, alert, fast, calculating, as if he knew danger before it arrived. Her lips curved into a faint smile, a rare expression she allowed herself. "Not bad for a primitive," she murmured. "Perhaps a little more interesting than the others." Suddenly, a scream shattered the quiet, piercing the air like a warning horn. The huntress's eyes snapped to the sound. Scanning the area below, a wild predator, sleek and vicious, leapt from a rocky crevice toward the human group, jaws snapping, claws extended. Panic erupted, humans scattering in every direction. The one she watched stayed calm, crouching low, eyes calculating, muscles tense. He did not run blindly like the others. He waited, watched, and then acted. With a sudden movement, he hurled a spear with deadly precision, striking the predator in the shoulder. The creature hissed, retreating, only to charge again, faster this time. Teeth bared, the huntress tilted her head, impressed despite herself. "Persistent little thing," she whispered. The human ducked, rolled, and sprang forward, grabbing another spear from the ground. He attacked again, this time hitting the predator in the leg, slowing it down. A trickle of admiration touched the huntress, but she kept her face cold, her pride unbroken. The predator snarled, wounded but still dangerous, circling the human like a predator sizing up its prey. The human did not panic, instead using terrain to his advantage, climbing a jagged rock, baiting the creature into a trap. He jumped just in time as the predator lunged, its claws scraping the stone below. The huntress watched in silence, sensing something unusual, something that stirred a long-forgotten thrill inside her. This was not just survival. This was cleverness, courage, and instinct combined, a combination she had rarely seen in humans. Other humans screamed and ran, but he moved with precision, guiding them away from danger while keeping the predator occupied. He shouted instructions, threw more spears, and even used rocks to distract the creature. The huntress could not believe her eyes. A small human, so fragile, facing a deadly predator and not only surviving but protecting others. She drifted closer, adjusting her senses to monitor his heartbeat, adrenaline, and focus. It was high, but controlled, not reckless, a rare quality she had never seen in prey before. Then, something unexpected happened. The predator lunged at the human from behind. He spun at the last second, barely dodging the snapping jaws, and thrust a spear into the creature's chest. It let out a loud roar, staggering back, and then fled into the desert, leaving a trail of blood and sand. The huntress felt a strange rush of excitement, her pulse quickening, something she had not experienced in a long time. Her pride urged her to scoff, but a part of her, a small, dangerous part, felt exhilarated. She hovered silently above, invisible, yet closer than ever, studying him. Every move, every breath, every glance he took was filled with calculation, courage, and an unusual spark of defiance. No other human she had observed had reacted like this. No other creature had earned even a flicker of respect from her. Her fingers brushed the controls, almost unconsciously, as if she wanted to intervene, to see what he could do against her presence. But she held back, watching, waiting, letting the suspense build. The humans gathered themselves, shaken but alive, whispering among each other, amazed at the narrow escape. The one she focused on stood tall, chest heaving, eyes scanning for more danger, ready for anything. The huntress's curiosity deepened, her amusement mixing with something she could not name. Could a human really survive, adapt, and even thrive in a world designed to crush them? She floated silently above, hiding, wondering, intrigued, and for the first time in centuries, she felt challenged. A soft wind blew, carrying the scent of the desert and the humans below. She could almost taste the tension, the excitement, the energy of survival. And then she saw it, a small flicker of defiance in his eyes, a light that refused to bow to fear. It was subtle, almost invisible, yet it burned bright enough for her to notice. The huntress smirked, sharp and predatory. "This one is different," she whispered. "This one might be worth my time." Hours passed, the humans setting up a small camp, trying to recover from the close encounter. The human she followed moved carefully among them, helping, protecting, and guiding with quiet authority. The huntress observed from above, her heart racing with a thrill she had long thought lost. She began to question herself, her pride, and her assumptions. Perhaps humans were not so simple, not so weak, not so laughable as she had believed. Night fell, casting shadows across the desert. Stars glittering cold above, the huntress hovered silently, her mind racing, her interest now fully captured by this human. She wondered how far he could go, how much danger he could face, and what he might do next. The hunt was no longer just amusement. It had become a game, a test, and perhaps something more. She smiled, sharp and predatory, and whispered into the dark, "We will meet properly soon, little human, and then I will see what you are truly made of." The desert night was alive with sounds, whispers of wind through jagged rocks and the distant cries of nocturnal predators. The alien huntress hovered above, her ship hidden in the shadows of a high cliff, eyes locked on the human she had been watching. She had studied him for hours, noting every movement, every instinct, and yet the more she observed, the more she wondered what he was truly capable of. Her pride demanded she test him, to push him beyond what she had already seen, to see if his courage was real or just luck. Silently, she began her game, manipulating the environment without revealing herself. A loose rock dislodged above the humans, tumbling down with a roar. The humans screamed, scrambling for cover, and the one she followed ducked instinctively, eyes flashing with awareness. He caught the direction of the falling rock, threw his arm to shield a younger companion, and rolled just as it slammed into the ground. The huntress's lips curled into a smile. Cold but intrigued, resourceful, she whispered, "Let's see how far this goes." She increased the challenge, subtle and invisible, a predator's roar echoing closer than it should, a shadow flicking across the camp. The humans froze, hearts racing, but only he acted with calm determination. He grabbed a torch, moving slowly, scanning, every muscle tense but controlled. The huntress leaned forward in her ship, adjusting her senses to track adrenaline spikes, movements, reflexes. He was faster, smarter, more aware than she had anticipated, and it thrilled her in a way she had not felt in centuries. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath them, a minor tremor caused by an underground creature. Rocks fell, spears clattered, and chaos erupted. Yet the human moved like a shadow, guiding others to safety. He leapt across gaps, grabbed hands to pull them up, and even predicted the tremor's pattern. The huntress's eyes widened, sharp and calculating, persistent, adaptable, unpredictable, perfect, she whispered. She had to admit it, though only to herself. The human was remarkable, and every instinct she had as a predator screamed to engage fully. Deciding to escalate, she created illusions, subtle but dangerous, shapes moving in the shadows, noises where none should exist. The human panicked, fear rising like wildfire, but he remained alert, using logic, speed, and intuition to guide them safely through confusion. The huntress could feel her pulse quicken as she watched him, every move perfect, yet dangerous, yet beautifully human. She had seen warriors before, skilled and lethal, but never one who combined instinct, courage, and cleverness in such an elegant way. A sudden scream pierced the night, and a creature, larger, faster, and more lethal than before, emerged from the darkness. The humans froze, their fear almost tangible. But he did not hesitate, calculating, assessing, acting. He grabbed a spear, thrusting it toward the beast, but it dodged faster than any normal human should. The huntress felt the thrill of the hunt again, her body tense, her mind alive. She had to admit it silently. This was no ordinary human. This one was exceptional. The creature lunged again, and this time the human reacted with instinct and cunning, feinting left, rolling right. He used the terrain, the shadows, even the smaller rocks to mislead and trap the predator. The huntress watched in fascination as he finally trapped it in a narrow canyon, spear after spear forcing it back until it retreated. Defeated but alive, the humans cheered, relief and fear mixing in their voices. But the one she focused on stood silently, catching his breath, eyes scanning for new threats. The huntress's curiosity had turned into something more dangerous than amusement. Interest, a rare and forbidden emotion for her. She adjusted her senses, detecting something unusual in his heartbeat, something that made her pause. It was not fear, not panic, but a sharp, thrilling focus, like a predator sensing a hunt of its own. She smirked, realizing that he was not merely surviving. He was thriving, learning, adapting with every challenge he created. Her pride, her amusement, her fascination, all mixed into a heady cocktail of anticipation. "Let's see how far you can go, little human," she whispered, eyes narrowing as she floated higher. "The real test begins now." Without warning, a second wave of danger appeared, even larger than before. A pack of predators, coordinated, fast, and relentless, cornered the humans against a cliff. Panic spread, screams echoing in the night. But he did not falter. He shouted instructions, calculated risks, and positioned his people like pieces on a board. The huntress watched silently, every heartbeat in her chest matching his adrenaline. She felt a thrill that was new, almost intoxicating, and it scared her to admit it. One predator lunged directly at him, jaws snapping, claws extended. He rolled to the side, grabbed a spear from the ground, and thrust it forward, hitting the beast in the shoulder. The huntress blinked, almost impressed, almost tempted to descend and interfere. Yet she held back, knowing the suspense, the tension, the unpredictability of his actions was more entertaining from above. The human then turned, pulling a smaller companion out of harm's way, dodging a second predator. Her cold heart felt a strange warmth, a fascination she had not experienced in centuries. As the night grew darker, the desert alive with danger, she realized something she would never admit aloud. This human, fragile and small, was not just surviving. He was thriving, learning, and becoming something extraordinary. The thrill of the hunt had shifted, subtle and dangerous, from amusement to a challenge he could not resist. The huntress whispered into the cold night, her voice sharp and predatory. "I will see what you are truly made of, little human, and when we meet face to face, you will not just test yourself, you will test me." The desert night was deep, black as obsidian, stretching endlessly under the cold stars. The alien huntress hovered above the humans, her eyes sharp, her mind calculating. She had tested him, pushed him to the edge, watched as he survived traps, predators, and chaos. And yet, something was different now, something that stirred a dangerous curiosity inside her. The human she had been observing moved with confidence. But there was a glint in his eyes, something she had not anticipated. A sudden rustle from the shadows drew her attention. A small predator, unseen until now, lunged at one of the younger humans, teeth bared and claws snapping. Instinctively, the human she followed reacted, but instead of using force alone, he set a trap. He used the environment, rocks and sand, guiding the predator with precision. It stumbled, fell into a small pit he had prepared moments earlier. Struggling but caught, the huntress's lips curved into a faint, sharp smile. "Clever, too clever," she whispered, almost warning herself. She decided to escalate the challenge, creating new illusions in the night. Shadows moved unnaturally, sounds echoed from nowhere, and strange shapes flickered across the dunes. Other humans panicked, fear overtaking their senses. But he remained calm, scanning, listening, calculating. He adjusted his strategies in real time, predicting dangers that even she had not anticipated. The huntress tilted her head, feeling a thrill she had long forgotten, a mix of pride, curiosity, and fear. Then it happened. Something she did not see coming. A second group of predators appeared, coordinated, hunting not just for food but for dominance. The humans were surrounded, trapped, every escape blocked. Chaos erupted as screams echoed through the night. Sen kicked up in the moonlight. The human she followed did not run, did not panic. Instead, he assessed the situation, his mind moving faster than any predator or alien could imagine. He used the terrain, the shadows, and even the predator's own instincts against them. He led some predators into narrow passages where their size worked against them. He tricked others into colliding with rocks or each other, and in the midst of the chaos, he protected the younger humans. Moving like a shadow, almost untouchable, the huntress watched in disbelief, her pride battling against the growing fascination in her chest. This human, small and fragile, was outsmarting creatures she considered superior in every way. A moment came when a predator leapt directly at him, jaws snapping, claws extended. He rolled, flipped, and landed behind the creature, thrusting a spear into its side. It roared in pain and fury, yet the human barely flinched. He looked up, eyes sharp, scanning for the next threat, calm as if the chaos around her were nothing more than a puzzle. The huntress's pulse quickened, her curiosity now fully awakened. She realized this was no longer a game of amusement or testing. This human had Something rare, something dangerous, something that could rival even her own instincts. The wind shifted suddenly, carrying the scent of danger. Another predator, larger, faster, and smarter than any before, approached silently from behind. The human sensed it almost instinctively, pivoting just in time. Spear ready, eyes cold and calculating. He struck precisely, forcing the creature to retreat, and then he did something that made the huntress's eyes narrow in surprise. He protected another human, sacrificing a tactical advantage to ensure their safety. This act, this choice, was something she had never seen in her hunts, never expected in a human. For the first time, the huntress felt an emotion she could not name. It was not pride, not amusement, not even fear. It was respect, small but undeniable. She realized humans were not just fragile creatures driven by adrenaline. They were clever, adaptable, and capable of choices that even she, a seasoned predator, could admire. And yet, she reminded herself, respect did not mean weakness. This human was still prey in her eyes, but prey that challenged her, prey that intrigued her, prey that was unpredictable. The night grew darker, the chaos subsided, and the desert returned to a tense silence. The human she followed stood tall, chest heaving, eyes scanning the horizon. He had survived every trap, every predator, every challenge she had thrown at him, and yet he remained humble, alert, ready for the next danger. The huntress hovered above, conflicted, her pride telling her to strike, her curiosity telling her to watch. She realized the unexpected truth. Humans were not as primitive as she had thought, and this one human, this small, stubborn, brave human, was capable of changing everything she believed about them. She smirked, sharp and predatory, hiding her fascination behind a mask of pride. The real hunt begins soon, she whispered to herself, her voice cold but laced with anticipation. And when we meet face to face, little human, you will either survive or teach me a lesson I never expected. The stars above shone silently, indifferent, as the huntress plotted her next move, and the desert held its breath, waiting for the storm of challenges yet to come. The desert was silent now, but the silence was not peace. It was a warning. The humans gathered near their small camp, exhausted but alert, every nerve tuned to danger. The alien huntress hovered high above, her eyes scanning the terrain, calculating, predicting. She had watched the humans survive every challenge, every predator, every trap, and yet she sensed something was coming, something far greater than she had prepared. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground beneath them, subtle at first, then stronger. Rocks slid from the cliffs, sand shifted violently, and a low, guttural roar echoed across the desert. The humans froze, fear gripping them, hearts pounding, eyes wide. The human she had been observing crouched, assessing the situation instantly. He knew this was no ordinary predator, no simple challenge. This was something different, something larger, something relentless. From the horizon emerged a creature unlike any they had seen before, massive and terrifying. Its limbs were long and powerful, its skin thick and armored, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. It moved with precision, not blindly, stalking its prey with an intelligence that rivaled even Hayes. The humans panicked, scattering, screams filling the air, but the one she watched remained calm, calculating, observing the creature's patterns, predicting its next move. The huntress felt her pulse quicken. This was no longer a simple hunt. This was a true test, not just for the humans, but for her own skills. She watched as a human led a small group into a narrow canyon, using the terrain to their advantage. He threw rocks, shouted to distract, even used fire from their torches to create barriers. The massive creature hesitated, caught off guard, but its intelligence quickly adapted. It was learning, analyzing, tracking every movement with deadly precision. The human barely had time to react as it lunged at him, its claws snapping inches from his face. He rolled, grabbed a spear, and struck, but the creature was faster than he expected, deflecting his attack and charging again. The huntress's eyes narrowed, heart racing with excitement. She had never seen a human face such a threat and continue fighting with such courage and cunning. Every move was a gamble, every decision a risk, and yet he calculated it all in seconds. Suddenly, a shadow fell from above, one of the huntress's illusions, or perhaps a predator she had summoned. The massive creature roared, confused by the sudden movement. The human seized the moment, throwing another spear, striking it in the leg. The creature faltered, pain flashing in its eyes, but it was far from defeated. It charged again, more cautiously this time, its intelligence and instinct combining into a terrifying force. The huntress hovered closer, invisible yet fully engaged. Her mind raced, comparing her own skills to the humans, noting how he adapted, learned, and survived with every passing second. For the first time, she realized the adrenaline she felt was more than excitement. It was respect. This human, fragile and small, was surviving a creature she considered nearly invincible, and he was doing it not by brute strength, but by mind, instinct, and courage. The battle intensified, rocks flying, then erupting in clouds, the creatures roar echoing across the canyon. Other humans screamed, some fleeing, others hiding, but he remained focused, moving with speed and precision. He threw spears, dodged claws, and used the terrain to his advantage. Even when a massive limb swung toward him, he rolled beneath it, landing perfectly. Spear ready, the huntress's lips curved into a sharp smile, sensing the thrill of a hunt unlike any she had experienced. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. The desert alive with chaos, danger, and tension. The human continued to survive, leading others, protecting, adapting, improvising. The massive creature roared in frustration, unable to predict the human's next move. The huntress felt a strange sense of admiration, and yet her pride demanded she remain detached. She reminded herself this was still a test, a hunt, a game, and she would see how it ended. Finally, the creature paused, injured, cautious, and the human seized a moment to retreat, guiding his group to safety. He looked back once, eyes sharp, heart pounding, and the huntress saw something in him, determination, courage, and a spark that refused to die. The desert fell silent again, the human safe. But barely. The huntress hovered above, hidden in the shadows, realizing that her simple amusement had turned into fascination. This one, she whispered, her voice low, is unlike any prey I have ever known, and soon I will have to confront him face to face. The desert was quiet now, the moon casting pale silver light across jagged rocks and shifting sand. The humans huddled near a small fire, exhausted but alive, their breaths heavy, hearts racing. The alien huntress hovered above, hidden in the night sky, her eyes fixed on the human she had been following. She had tested him, watched him survive impossible odds, and yet a strange feeling tugged at her. She had always hunted for skill, for thrill, for the challenge of facing prey that could fight back. But this human, small, fragile, persistent, was different, and she could not deny it. Hours passed as the humans tended to their wounds, sharing quiet words and glances. The human she focused on moved carefully among them, checking each one, helping where he could. He lifted a small child, bandaged a wound, and offered comfort to the frightened. Every action showed courage, yes, but also compassion, a quality the huntress had never expected to see in prey. She floated silently above, watching, her pride warring with fascination, her amusement slowly replaced by admiration. A sudden noise broke the silence, sharp and terrifying, a new predator emerging from the shadows. Its eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, teeth bared, claws scraping the sand. The humans froze, terror gripping them. But the one she watched reacted instantly. He positioned himself between the creature and the others, spear in hand, ready, calculating every movement. The huntress's pulse quickened, a thrill she had not felt in centuries coursing through her. She realized that this human was not just brave, he was extraordinary, surviving, protecting, adapting. The creature lunged, massive and fast, jaws snapping, claws extended. The human dodged with instinctive precision, striking with spear and rock, but never recklessly. He used the terrain to trap it, using narrow crevices to limit its movements. Every action was perfect, every choice deliberate. The huntress watched, heart racing, noting every calculation, every subtle move. She could not look away, could not resist the fascination building inside her. Then came a moment that made her stop entirely, her eyes narrowing in disbelief. The human saw a younger companion about to be attacked, and without hesitation, he leapt into danger to save them. He blocked the predator's strike, taking the risk himself. Pain flashed across his face as claws grazed him, but he did not falter. Instead, he shouted instructions, guiding the others to safety while defending against the predator. The huntress's sharp smile faltered, replaced by something she had not felt in centuries, respect, raw and undeniable. She had always thought humans weak, fragile, driven by fear and adrenaline. But this human, this small, stubborn creature, was fearless, clever, and capable of choices she could never have predicted. He was not just surviving. He was teaching, protecting, leading, thriving in ways that defied logic. The Huntress felt a strange warmth in her chest, an emotion she would never admit aloud. She had hunted countless creatures, defeated many. Yet this human inspired something entirely different. She felt challenged, intrigued, and even impressed. The predator finally retreated, injured but alive, leaving the human shaken but unharmed. The human she followed stood tall, chest heaving, eyes scanning for further threats. He helped the others, ensured everyone was safe, and then, finally, sat down near the fire, exhaustion visible. The Huntress drifted above, hidden in the darkness, her mind racing. She realized something extraordinary. Humans were not as primitive as she had assumed. And this one human, this brave, clever, compassionate human, had earned her respect. She observed him quietly, noting how he cared for others, how he calculated risk, and how he thrived under pressure. For centuries, she had hunted prey for skill and challenge, but never for character, and now she found herself considering something she had never considered before: admiration, not for strength alone, not for survival alone, but for courage, intelligence, and compassion combined. She felt a dangerous thrill, realizing that the human could teach her something, challenge her in ways no other prey had. The desert was quiet, yet alive with tension. The stars cold above. The Huntress hovered silently, contemplating her next move. She whispered to herself, sharp and predatory, "You are no longer just prey, little human. You have earned my respect, and soon we will meet face to face." And in the quiet night, she felt something she had not felt in centuries, a spark of anticipation. For the first time, the hunt was no longer just a game. It was a test of skill, mind, and courage, and perhaps a lesson she would never forget. The desert was quiet, but the stillness was deceptive. Above, the stars glimmered cold and distant, indifferent to the small humans below and the hunter watching from the sky. The alien huntress hovered silently, her eyes sharp, scanning every movement, calculating every possibility. She had followed, tested, and observed the human through countless dangers, predators, and illusions. And now, it was time, the moment she had anticipated for herself, and perhaps for him. The human moved carefully, alert, sensing something unusual in the air. Though he could not see her, his instincts, honed by survival and repeated danger, told him that the huntress was near. He tightened his grip on his spear, scanning the shadows, listening for the faintest sound. The huntress's heart, or what she allowed herself to call a heart, quickened, a thrill racing through her. She had watched countless prey, but none had prepared her for this. None had challenged her pride, her skill. And now, her curiosity so completely, she descended silently, invisible in the darkness, letting the wind mask her presence. The human sensed a shift instinctively, turning sharply, eyes narrowing. He did not flee, did not panic. He stood tall, ready, his body tense but controlled. The huntress studied him, impressed, fascinated, and, for a moment, something like admiration softened the edges of a predatory nature. He had survived a test, protected his people, and faced dangers she had conjured, yet he remained steadfast, resolute, and clever. With a sudden burst of speed, she revealed herself, landing silently a few meters away. The human froze for a fraction of a second, then squared his shoulders, staring at her with equal intensity, their eyes locked, predator and prey, hunter and survivor, and yet neither struck immediately. There was a tension, electric and dangerous. Humming in the desert air, she could sense his courage, his intelligence, and the spark of defiance in his eyes. And he could sense her power, her skill, and the thrill she felt in facing him. "You survived everything I threw at you," she said finally, voice low and sharp. "Not just survived. You adapted, you protected, you learned." The human's eyes did not waver, calm but wary. "I survived because I had to, and because I will not let the weak fall," he said quietly. The huntress tilted her head, intrigued by his words, by the strength in his convictions, by the courage that radiated from him. She realized that this was no ordinary prey, no simple hunt. This was a meeting of minds and spirits, a test she had not expected to face. For the first time, she considered a choice she had never considered before. To strike would satisfy her pride, her instincts, her thrill of the hunt. But to let him live, to step back, would be an acknowledgment of his courage and skill. She stepped closer, the desert wind whipping around her, and studied him carefully. And then, with a flicker of something almost human, she smiled, sharp and dangerous, yet genuine. "You are a remarkable little human," she said softly, "and I will not take your life today." The human blinked in surprise but remained alert, sensing both danger and respect in her tone. He lowered his spear slightly, understanding that the huntress had made a choice, and yet he knew this was not over. She hovered for a moment, watching, calculating, then slowly ascended, blending into the night sky. The desert was quiet again, but the tension lingered, electric and alive. For the first time, the huntress felt something she had never expected, a lesson learned. Humans were fragile, yes, but also clever, courageous, and capable of defying expectations. The human watched her go, chest heaving, mind racing, realizing that he had survived a predator unlike any other. He had faced death, danger, and chaos, yet he had endured, adapted, and survived. And somewhere, high above, the huntress had learned something she would never admit aloud. Courage, intelligence, and compassion could rival even the sharpest claws, the fastest reflexes, and the deadliest skills. She had hunted countless prey before, but none had taught her like this human. And as she drifted silently into the stars, a spark of respect and fascination burned within her. The desert returned to its silence, but the memory of the night would linger. For the human, it was a victory of survival and courage. For the huntress, it was a reminder that even in the smallest, weakest, and most fragile creatures, greatness could exist. And as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, the world seemed larger, wilder, and full of possibilities. The hunt had ended, but the lesson remained, etched in both of them. And somewhere deep in the night sky, the alien huntress promised herself silently, "This is not the last time we meet, little human. And next time, the game will be even more dangerous, thrilling, and unforgettable."